G'day from down under. My name's Robyn Blake-Mortimer, and I wanted to enter into the shame attacking exercise because it's really clear to me that as psychologists and therapists, we're all meant to have our act together. We're not meant to make mistakes, and we're meant to absolutely not be hypocritical in any way. So if you do make mistakes and stuff up in some area, you absolutely shouldn't dare to be working in that area. So some of you might remember me as Robyn Fowler, and often I sign my emails as AKA Robyn Fowler, because between 2016 and 2019, I lived in New York State with my American husband. And we are still married, but physically separated, with me returning to Australia to work and Joe remaining to support with his elderly mother, who is about to turn 100 in about 4 weeks. So that all sounds quite reasonable, doesn't it? I mean, everyone understands that sometimes there's competing loyalties. That makes it difficult in relationships, and it's not always easy to find a workable compromise, especially in the pandemic, and especially with the Australian response of closing the borders so that people are not allowed in or out unless they quarantine for 2 weeks. And then there are issues about even Australian citizens being able to get back into this country. But here is the rub, or should I say more the shameful details that I tend to gloss over. So, deep breath, Robyn. This is my 3rd marriage, and I really want it to work. And I mean, I honestly think 1 is ideal, and if you marry young, 1 is fine. But 2 is kind of understandable. I mean, we can be forgiving of the second situation. But 3 still kind of seems to me, or many other people, to be a bit excessive, or showing very poor judgment, or maybe a poor selection process. And so Julie Gottman, who is the renowned relationships expert, says 3's the charm. But it's not exactly what I want to put on my web page. And it doesn't feel kind of good when I remember my son kind of looking at all of my qualifications when I was so proud I'd finally got them framed and they were ready to be up on the wall. And he said, "Oh, but Mum, they're all in different surnames. Who is this person?" I thought, yeah. So my life has sort of been a really long process in learning communication skills and getting additional training, both in Gottman method couples counselling and more recently Team CBT. And I certainly wish I had heard David Burns's advice of learning to be truly, truly happy with yourself as an individual, as that's the essential place to start any sound, happy relationship. But I was young. I was 22, and I was kind of caught up in this situation of very much believing no sex before marriage or outside marriage. And at 22, what was any red-blooded woman meant to do? Wasn't easy, was it? So I'm starting to get embarrassed. So I run currently a really successful private practice called Tuned In Couples in Australia. And I absolutely love helping my clients resolve their problems, reconnect, sort out intimacy issues, and deal with compromises that seem really hard for them. And this is an absolute passion and joy to me. And I want them to be able to learn how to get the happy ending without going through some of the awful heartbreak that I've been through. At the same time, I sometimes do hear from other people and from other people in the field almost disparaging comments about therapists whose own personal lives are a mess. And they actually have the audacity to give advice to others. I know of one colleague even whose selection criteria for marriage counsellors was that their history was free of divorce. At that time, I was in a really deeply unhappy marriage and didn't have the insight to help anybody much. So it's awkward that my professional qualifications are under 3 surnames, reflecting different parts of my life history. It's messy that my 3 adult children have 2 different surnames. And maybe we could reframe it still in the, well, she really does value marriage and is just an old-fashioned girl at heart, despite being 61. But despite this, I still feel a bit embarrassed. But perhaps because of this feeling, I choose to work with relationships. I want them to understand that people can learn and they can change. I want to own my own mistakes and not be a phony. And it is kind of frightening, but also liberating to challenge the old, really perfectionistic view that we need to have our lives in order, or Australians would say our shit together before we try to tell anybody else what to do, even through Socratic questioning. So if this idea is repulsive to anyone and my history makes you think this is just a shocking therapist, that's perfectly okay, because I'm sure there are many other professionals who might be a better fit for you. And at the moment, I just want to embrace authenticity and vulnerability and do this shame attacking exercise. So I'll be looking forward to hearing other people's shame attacking exercises too.